This is a letter from former President Barack Obama written to me. My first name is Barak. It sounds just like former President Barack Obama, just without the C. And the story and evolution of my name throughout my entire life is pretty interesting. I'm named after my grandfather. His first name was Bernie. In Hebrew, his name was Baruch, which means blessing. He died 2 weeks before I was born, so I never had the opportunity to meet him. But being named after him is something really symbolic and important to me. And whenever people ask me if there's anyone in the world, living or dead, that I would have the opportunity to meet if I could choose to right now, it's always him. I've never met him and I'm named after him, so for me it's pretty important. But when I was young, growing up in the greater Boston area, the name Barak was pretty hard. It was pretty difficult to meet people. It was pretty difficult to introduce myself to people. No one understood the word that I was saying. You know, it's a simple name, B-A-R-A-K, Barak. To me, it was simple. But for so many people, whenever I introduced myself, going out to get food, I was going to meet people, maybe playing basketball, they would say, Bark, Bukhara, Burak, Barak, Baraka. I've gotten Barbara before. You know the classic story of whenever you go to Starbucks and you give them your name, and then when they call out your name, it's totally different. I've gotten it all. Brooke, you name it. And so actually when I was younger, growing up as a kid, I told myself one day, I'm gonna change my name. I don't wanna deal with this anymore. No one can identify with what I'm saying. Sometimes I shy away from having to say my name to other people. And it became sort of like a thing that when I was older, I would change my name. In 2008, Barack Obama got elected president. And this instant change of meeting people suddenly went from not being able to say this 5-letter name to saying things like, wait, like Obama? Like the president? And it totally changed the way that I was able to meet people and say hi to people. And I was excited to share my name. I was excited for people to ask. You know, they would always ask me like, where does that name come from? What is that? It's Hebrew. And actually in Hebrew, Barak means lightning. It's actually one of the reasons why I wear this lightning bolt around my neck, is because to me, lightning is very symbolic as to who I am, and I'll get to that in a few. Again, in 8th grade, I believe it was 2008, suddenly I was thrilled to go and meet people. So people were mispronouncing my name, obviously, my entire life, almost like wherever I went, especially in the United States. And the one community that was able to really understand what I was saying was the Jewish community, or like the Israeli community. You know, Barak in Israel, it's a more common name than it is in the States, but it's still a less common Hebrew name. In the States, even after Obama got elected, it's not that common of a name. You don't meet Baraks all of the time. People sometimes would think that I'm lying to them when I would say that my name is Barak. And it happens to me all the time. They'll be like, your name's Barak, like Obama? And this turned into so many cool nicknames with friends, with people on the basketball court, people who I would meet. And I took a lot of pride in this. In fact, when I was in college in 2016, actually my first college, when I was at OtherBarak College in New York State, I ran for class president. I used Obama's sort of name as a slogan running for the campaign because we do share this name. And so I did get elected as class president at OtherBarak College in New York State. And I come from the world of basketball. If you don't know that at this point, it is the biggest thing in my life, my core ingredient, if you slice my chest open right now and you looked at the different sectors of my heart, you would see basketball as a huge chunk of my life. I also really love hip hop music. A lot of my friends have been from all over the world, from different cultures and ethnicities, and I was raised by 2 parents who taught me and my brother and my family to be a part of projects and initiatives that promote coexistence and being together, whether you're white or whether you're black or whether you're Asian or Mexican, Jew, non-Jew, it doesn't matter. This is how I was raised. And I decided one day in 2016, in the summer, it was July, I decided to write Barack Obama a letter. He was president at the time. And I wanted to share with him who I was and the things that we had in common, from being a class president, you know, class president at some small state university in New York, obviously to the president of the United States. But the things that we had in common, like basketball. Obama is very, very much affiliated with the sport of basketball and loves hip hop music. He even releases his top favorite artist and song every year on Spotify. And I wanted to share this with him with zero political agenda. This has nothing to do with politics. I'm not somebody who likes politics even to begin with. It was simply to share my story with somebody. So this is actually the letter that I wrote him and the letter that he wrote me. I have this framed here in my house. I'm gonna read it to you right now. There are some grammatical mistakes and I apologize. I wrote this pretty quickly and just wanted to get it to Obama. I just thought, let me just get this out to him. I just want to share. I was so excited, like the thought of the idea of President Barack Obama reading a letter that I wrote him and then writing me one back. I'll get to that in a second. Let me read the letter that I wrote him. Dear President Obama, hello. The chance of this letter actually getting passed to you is probably 1 in a billion, but I figured since we share the same name, I might as well go for it. Here's a little background about me. My name is Barak Swartz and I'm from Newton, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. My family moved to Israel in 2001, where my older brother and I went to school and my parents worked. We returned to the United States in 2003. After attending a small private Jewish middle school from 3rd to 8th grade, I went on to graduate from Newton South High School in 2013 and then attend the Pomfret School in Pomfret, Connecticut as a postgraduate. I did a PG year because I wanted a chance to explore the other academic opportunities since I was unsure of where I wanted to go to school. Also, I went through a 5-month back injury before my senior year at Newton South. This injury put a halt in my basketball recruitment process, therefore I wanted to regain the time that I missed on the court. I am writing to you to tell you a little bit about myself, to share the things that I believe you and I have in common, not just our names. I also want to express my gratitude and appreciation to you and share my biggest dream. Ever since I was a little kid, I strongly disliked my name. In fact, I used to hate my name. Nobody had heard the name Barak before, aside from my family and friends at school. Just about everyone misspelled and mispronounced it. Barak was easy to make fun of, as well as mistake for many other names. Over the course of my life, I have gotten Barak, Bark, Burak, Brock, Barbara, Bakara, Barka, Baker, Brak, and more. The list goes on. The only people who understood my name were my Jewish family and friends, but that was about it. For a long time, I strongly considered changing my name. When you started your campaign for President of the United States, I started to notice that more and more people began to understand my name. In fact, the closer elections came, the more positive comments I got about my name. The most common one being, Barak? Like the president? When you got elected, my name started to blow up everywhere in a really good and cool way. I loved and still love the attention. Barak, like the president? Barak, like Obama, were the most common reactions I received when I met new people. It felt incredible to finally not go through the prior trouble I had for years regarding my name. Your presidency, your name, and your incredible leadership position in the world changed all of this for me. The funniest story I have for you is when I was in 5th grade. Each member of my class picked out a piece of paper from a hat which read Democrat or Republican. I picked a Republican slip, so my group went to the calling center in town to telephone people locally to promote getting out the vote for either John McCain. Not only did the instructors at the calling center not believe my name was Barak, I also ended up having to change my name to Sam, Charlie, and Adam because it wouldn't have made sense for me to say, "Hello, Mr. Smith, this is Barak calling on behalf of the John McCain campaign." What a day. Currently, I am entering my sophomore year at Elmira College in Elmira, New York. At Elmira, I play for the men's Division III basketball team. I was the president of my dorm this past year, and I'm still currently the president of the class of 2018. Helping host school-wide and class-wide events and programs, raise money for our class, promoting diversity, and overseeing the class office executive board and representatives have been incredible thus far. There are about 1,300 students at Elmira, so just about everyone knows everyone. As I walk around campus, I am known as Obama, Prez, Barak No Drama, and more. I don't think there are many other students around the country named Barak who have the following combination. The president of their class at their college, have played basketball since they were young, lived overseas for 2 years, and are Jewish. My biggest dream in my life is to have the opportunity to meet you one day. Your leadership, charisma, and your story are all incredible to me. If we do not get the opportunity to ever meet, I'll leave you with this. It has been an absolute pleasure learning about your life, your history, and your story. You have had an immense impact on my life, not just the part about my name. I am beyond thankful for your time in office leading our country. If I were another Barak that just had as much power as you, I would pass a law for a 3rd term in office. Shalom, my friend. Now, before everyone in the comments starts to say, this isn't about politics, what are you talking about? You endorsed him, etc. First of all, I wrote this letter when I was in college, and this letter actually came from the experience starting in middle school when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't know anything about politics, nor did I want to know anything about politics. Even when I was in college, I didn't have that much of an interest, and still today, at 29 years old, I don't. Me acknowledging Obama, his leadership and presidency, yeah, I would say that I respected and appreciated him as a person. To get into the policies and what he did as a president, the X's and O's, I left that out. I showed him my acknowledgement and my appreciation. This wasn't me trying to aim at a political campaign. And at the end, of course, I do say, if I was another Barak and I could vote for a 3rd term, I just said it in the letter. So to those who are very quick and gonna get on the comment section real quick and say how much of a Democrat I am, or how much of a liberal I am, or how much of an Obama fan I am, again, leave politics out of this because this has nothing to do with politics. So I took this letter in July 2016, and what I did is I printed it 4 different times. I said to myself, the President of the United States must be getting so many letters every single day. I have to increase the chances of this actually getting to his desk. The worst that I spend is a little bit more time, a couple pennies on some stamps. So every single Monday in July 2016, I sent the letter. So I sent the letter 4 times every single Monday, and I just basically said, okay, I'm quadrupling the chances of maybe one of my letters getting to the President of the United States. And I kind of left it at that. This was in July. In February 2017, I'm at Elmira College in New York. I'm walking from one of my friend's dorm rooms to basketball practice, like 2:30, 2:45 p.m. As I'm walking to practice, I get a phone call. The caller ID actually just said unrestricted, meaning I thought somebody was prank calling me. I typically didn't pick those up, so I put my phone back into my pocket. I kept walking to practice. And then about a minute later, my phone buzzed and I noticed that I had a voicemail. And I said to myself, what prank caller leaves a voicemail? So I opened the voicemail and this is exactly what I heard.
Hi, Barack. My name's Fiona Reeves. I'm the Director of Correspondence at the White House. I'm calling because a letter you sent the President last fall was included in the 10 he reads each night, and he wrote back to you by hand. So I wanted to check in and see if your address as of last August was still the best place to reach you with a handwritten note from the President.
That voicemail was the White House telling me that Barack Obama had a handwritten letter to respond to mine. I remember when I got that phone call, I was like 20 steps away from the entrance to the practice facility for basketball practice. I mean, I was shaking. This was half a year later, and I'm saying to myself, one of those 4 letters that I threw into the mailbox back in Boston made it to Barack Obama's desk. He read my letter, and he reads 10 every single night, just like she said in the voicemail. And one of my letters was one of the 10 that he read. And then it made me realize if he got to mine from July just in February, you can imagine the amount of letters that he receives. And of course, they have to go through some of them. He doesn't receive all of them. And I was speechless. I walked into practice with the biggest smile on my face. I don't remember exactly who it is, but I went into the locker room and I shared the news with everyone. I played the voicemail on speaker, and I obviously gave them my home address here in Boston for them to send out my letter. And I told my parents the story, what is going on, and that we have to get this framed. And while I was playing for Elmira College, I believe it was when I had a game at Stevens Tech in New Jersey, and my parents had arranged the letter. And after we finished our game, I went back outside to the parking lot with my parents. We sat in the car and I just opened the envelope. They hadn't opened it yet. I requested from them not to open it. And I had the envelope with the White House emblem inside of it, this letter, which I'm gonna read to you right now. Barack, thanks for the letter. It sounds like you are a whole lot more together than I was at your age, so I can only imagine the terrific things you'll accomplish in the years to come. Good luck. I'll see you on the playground. Barack Obama. So here I am, some class president at a small university in New York, college basketball player named Barack. Very uncommon name with an really uncommon story, gloating this. I mean, I shared this with everyone. I threw it up on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, every single place that you can imagine. And I realized the last sentence of his letter, I'll see you on the playground. You know, he wrote that because I mentioned to him about basketball and being a basketball player, and he obviously has that in common with me. And so that was a nice, fun way of saying, like, it's a slang we have that we use in basketball, I'll see you on the playground, like, I'll catch you on the court. I decided to use the last sentence of his letter as the fuel for a project that I started with a friend, and I started to do some documentation and fun storytelling about my life. And one of the projects that I created is actually called Barack Meets Barack, because I wanted to use this letter that I wrote him and the letter that he wrote me with the last sentence of his letter, I'll see you on the playground, as a way to create a fun project to hopefully meet Barack Obama one day. Because I wrote in the letter that one of my dreams, and again, this goes back to me being a kid, dream. Today, not just a dream, but it was more of like, wow, if I can write him a letter, maybe he'll see it one day and maybe I can meet him one day. And so the project that I came up with, which now looking back, you could say definitely has a lot of missing components to it, but at the time I thought was kind of unique, was what if I went to different basketball courts across Boston, the greater Boston area eventually, and just do some cool content and film myself playing and pretend as if Barack Obama's watching, and create a documentary around it where I'm just going to different basketball courts using that sentence he had as a way to maybe gain his attention, because I figured one of my 4 letters that I wrote to him was enough to gain his attention. Maybe now I can actually kind of use social media and content creation and storytelling and being in front of a camera with the authority of having an actual letter with the White House emblem handwritten from Barack Obama as a way to maybe get his attention. And we actually began this project called Barack Meets Barack. I even made a logo and some clothing. Here's a little bit of that project. How you doing, man?
I feel another banner coming.
I'm documenting a film to meet. I'm documenting a film to meet Barack Obama because my name is Barack too.
Yeah.
What's one thing you would say to Barack?
Barack, I had a chance to meet Barack. We got the best sports fans in the world here in Boston. From one Barack to another, from the truth.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I have no idea where this is about to go. With that being said, I've got one question left. Barack meets Barack. Will it be here? So that was the first video that we ever did, and unfortunately, we didn't continue to film this project. Actually, after I graduated college and finished working at my first job in the city and decided that I actually wanted to explore the idea of going to Israel, I went to Israel and continue on with my life. This is a project that has always been sort of stored in the back of my head, where I say to myself, I have this really cool story. Like growing up as a kid, Jewish kid in the greater Boston area, having a very difficult time growing up with my name. And suddenly one day, this president, Barack Obama, comes along and it changes the way that I use my name on a day-to-day basis. I no longer had to change my name when I was ordering pizza over the phone to John or Adam or Charlie. I never had to change my name when I was meeting somebody because I didn't want to have to go through the difficulty of like, here we go, it's gonna take 20 minutes just to explain to them what B-A-R-A-K is. To me being so excited and so proud to have the name that I have. In fact, as I grew older, I realized, let's say for a second, Barack Obama didn't ever become the president. You know, I don't think I ever would have really changed my name, because in the beginning of this video, I told you who I'm named after. And to be named after my grandfather, somebody who I've never met, and after hearing so much about him and the person that he was, it would have been totally wrong for me to actually change my name just because people weren't able to identify with it. In fact, as I grew up, as I matured, and understood more about the world and myself, I started to grow an appreciation for being different, for having different interests than other people, for having a different name than other people, maybe having a different taste in music or whatever the case is. And I started to say, I actually think that being different is way cooler than just fitting in with what is expected or having a very common English name, for example. And the name Barack is very different. In Hebrew, it means lightning, which is actually the middle of my logo. When you look at my logo for grit, gain resilience in time, which is my own brand, the lightning bolt is what completes that letter B. And that letter B is who I am. And lightning is strength and grit and determination and resilience and overcoming adversity, persevering through life. And even the story of me taking a risk, just going for it without anything to lose besides some time and a couple pennies on some stamps, to write a letter to a president, just expecting and just waiting maybe one day he'll write me back or call me, and then getting a call from the White House. It just comes to show like I'm a go-getter, like this is who I am, and if I see something and I want to do something, I'm gonna go do it, and there's nothing that's gonna get in my way of doing it. I think that this is part of me of being a little bit different than other people. Like I have this weird idea, and I remember when I was telling people that I wanted to write Obama a letter, there were people that were like, are you crazy? Like why even waste your time? And for me, I'm like, let me just store that into my pockets, because I'm gonna stick it in their face one day and show them that it wasn't a waste of time. I'm just willing to go after something that other people think might be very crazy to do. And that to me is being different. And that's how I got to the name OtherBarak. OtherBarak is simply that there's Obama and there's me. And obviously that's not true, because there are other people in the world that are named Barack. There's thousands and tens of thousands probably, I haven't looked at the statistics. But the name OtherBarak was actually an inspiration from him and from this story, because it is different. I'm the other Barack. There's just two of us when there really isn't. That's where it ends. It has nothing to do with politics. It's not me supporting him as the former president in his campaign. It's really the personal story of my name and how he has played a massive role in how that's lived in my life. You know, today in 2024, in fact, I'm in the States right now. I'm recording this in my room where I was born and where I was raised, the place that I actually wrote this letter. And it's really cool to come here full circle and now be able to tell this story. Let me even show you some of the gear that I was talking about for Barack Meets Barack. So this is the sweatshirt. You can see Barack Meets Barack right here, obviously with the green to make it pop out. And I had a bunch of shirts and sweatshirts made for myself and for Noah, and a couple for Obama too, because I thought that going to these courts and wearing this gear and actually trying to do something fun with it would have been kind of a cool way for me to actually gain some traction. And this was the very, very beginning of my journey of content creation and doing things on the internet. And looking back, it's not a project that was ever continued. It kind of stopped after that one video. And maybe it will be a project that I can get back to actually fulfill this dream of mine, this idea of actually going so far to begin with a letter, to exchanging letters from a voicemail and doing a project on the internet. And now I have a larger platform where maybe I could actually have the opportunity one day, like my former basketball coach in high school, rest in peace, Joe Kremer, said that he smells the Today Show. And how cool would that be one day to be able to replay this video that I'm sharing with you right now with Obama in a seat next to me talking about the letter that he wrote me in my hand. You know, if you don't know me personally and haven't seen me in person, or even my best friends, those who I spend my time with when I'm here in the States or when we see each other, I actually had a difficult time growing up with the name Barak, because being a basketball player growing up, but being with a lot of the inner city Boston kids, those who came from different backgrounds from the ones who were from the neighborhood that I'm from. And I was teammates with these kids and I played basketball with them and I trained with them. And my family lived in Israel for 2 years when I was a kid. So when I came back to the States, I went to a private middle school that it wasn't with the public school kids here in this area. And then when I graduated middle school, I ended up coming in as an outsider to the public school from where I'm from. So I came in essentially with all of those kids that I was playing basketball with in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, because I was just around basketball players. And those were the people who I hung out with. Those were my friends. Those who accepted me. They accepted me within those 4 lines as a basketball player. We became teammates. And it continued on into local leagues, into high school. And a lot of those friends of mine, a lot of those players, they weren't white, they weren't Caucasian, they were black, and they were Hispanic, and they were Latino, and they were Asian, and they were Mexican, and they weren't from where I'm from. It was interesting because people would label me because of my name and who I was hanging out with, and I was the only white kid and the Caucasian kid. People labeled me for a long time growing up here and at both high schools as this white kid from Boston who was trying to be black. He was trying to fit in. He was trying to be like them. It's never been the case. I've never forgotten who I am, where I'm from, and my origin and my roots. But that doesn't mean that me having friends that don't look like me aren't going to be people that I will continue to spend time with or respect. And you are a result of the environment that you hang with. And being around basketball, being around people who liked hip hop music and like going out into Boston and buying nice hats and clothes, and these are the people that I spent my time with because they accepted me. And it was interesting to see Barak play a role within those friend groups and still today, because basketball has let me meet so many people from so many different backgrounds and cultures and ethnicities from across the world. Not just white, not just black, not just Jewish, not just Christian, everyone. And this goes back to that concept I was talking about before about embracing being different. This is something that I really hold true to myself and dear and close to me forever, because I've always been pretty different. I've always had a different name. I've always had different friends, trajectory in life. I quit what I was doing. I decided to go overseas. I was in fitness. Now I'm in advocacy. I'm very much somebody who just stays true to himself. And I don't let other people's judgments or opinions of me change who I am just because of who I hang with. None of that stuff. And in fact, when I was a postgraduate at the Pomfret School in Connecticut, I gave my chapel speech about this exact topic. A chapel speech at Pomfret was a speech that every single senior or PG that was graduating had to give in front of the whole school. The entire school came into the chapel and you stand up and you have essentially as long as you want to talk about anything that you want. And I decided to talk about this idea of having people my whole life up until that point really judge me. Like I was telling you before, judging me for being this white kid from suburban Boston trying to fit in with black people, or people who were playing basketball, because I was always sort of the only white friend with the group. And I talked about how I think it's really ironic that the people who looked just like me, the white Caucasian kids, were the ones to judge me the most, and the ones who looked nothing like me were the ones who never judged me. And I find that contrast to be so ironic and so interesting to me, because I would have expected those who don't really look like me, aren't from where I'm from, to be the ones to judge me, and the ones who look like me, who are from where I'm from, to accept me. And it was the exact opposite in reverse. And I never let that affect me or change who I am or the people that I wanted to be with. And so this all really comes full circle when I think about my name Barak and this lightning bolt that I wear around my neck and the lightning bolt in my logo, with this idea of lightning and strength and perseverance and resilience and being who you are 24/7 and embracing that. And I have so much pride in my name. Forget the story about Barack Obama and exchanging letters. I'm named after my grandfather. And typically in Jewish tradition, you name children after someone else in the family. And it is my honor to be named after my grandfather, even though I haven't met him. And it is also a really cool story I get to carry with me growing up, with this story of exchanging these letters with former President Barack Obama, and what it has turned into my whole life, which has led to some of the best friends I have today, some of the best experiences on the basketball court, and some of the coolest ways for me to talk about my story and me. And so if there's anyone else out there who hears this and can take anything away, I know that there are people who have odd names. They're spelled differently, they're pronounced differently, maybe it's not English. It's something that you should embrace even more when people have a difficult time interacting with that name. It makes you different, it makes you unique. It is something that I would encourage any single person, if we're specifically talking now about your name, to really fall in love with that. Be okay with people having a difficult time hearing it, understanding it, spelling it. It creates a curiosity gap, and it even creates for a more compelling story, in my opinion, to be able to tell. So now all of you know the story about my name, Barak, and of course, how we got to this, how I got to this platform called OtherBarak.